I have an identical twin sister. So when I went off to college my freshman year, it truly was the first time being on my own. And that fall I went to my first college party, and a guy handed me a beer, and then the rest of the night I can't remember much. It's really hazy. I blacked out. I do not know how I got back to my dorm, but I did know that I had been raped. I was so scared and ashamed, and because I couldn't remember what happened, I was even too scared to ask my friends if they knew what had happened to me. And a few weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. And I was so scared and so ashamed and didn't want to tell anybody. I still did not want to tell my family, and it was really hard making it through the holidays, trying to keep the pregnancy and the morning sickness a secret from my family. I went back to school in January and made an appointment for an abortion. I couldn't go by myself, so I asked my sister, who was in school a few hours away, if she would come and take me. I still couldn't even tell her exactly how I got pregnant. I remember walking past the picketers. I just kept my head down and tried not to look at their signs and not listen to the words as they were yelling at me as I was going into the clinic. I remember the sounds of the suction, and I remember the cramping, but not much else. I knew that I had made a mistake, that I had taken a life that wasn't mine to take. I had written in my prayer journal, "Dear God, please forgive me for the operation." I couldn't even write the words abortion down. But I went on with life as if I'd never had the abortion. And after Todd and I had been married around 5 years, I was watching a news show that was discussing the signs, side effects, and symptoms of the date rape drug. And then all the memories of that night came crashing back. The ones I did have of that night came back, along with the memories of my abortion. I became extremely depressed. I was able to forgive the guy who got me pregnant, but I was not able to forgive myself for the abortion. I may not have had a say in everything that had happened to me that night, but every decision after that was mine. I had a hard time looking at my own sons and not grieving and mourning the child that I had aborted. This also caused a lot of problems in my marriage. I wanted out of the marriage. I thought I'd married a really good, strong Christian man who deserved a good, strong Christian woman, and that was not me. I really believed God had somebody better out there for him than me. But a few months later, we went to a marriage conference, and one of the speakers made the comment that the minute you said your vows in front of God, that was God's plan for both of you. That was his will for both of you. And that's exactly what I needed to hear. I remember looking at Todd down the row and just laughing because I realized that's what I've been waiting to hear. And I decided after hearing that divorce was off the table, that I didn't know what our marriage was going to look like from here on out, but that divorce was no longer an option. We still struggled for a while, but a few months later there was a day where I looked at Todd with so much love and respect and adoration and passion. It was so much more than I'd ever felt for him before, and I knew that God had healed my marriage. It was around that time when I finally got what I'd been told as a Christian all along, that Jesus Christ did not die on the cross for some of my sins. He died on the cross for all of my sins. And that's when the true healing began for me. Todd and I would talk off and on and pray about a day and a time where I could serve and be a part of something that would bring glory to God for what I've been through and give it a purpose. And in the spring of 2012, I started as a receptionist at CPC. I love being a receptionist there. I have the privilege of being the first person to greet whoever walks through that front door. And I know how hard it is just to walk through that front door. Last fall, I took a post-abortion counseling class that CPC offers, and it was another great step for me in the healing process, to be able to fellowship and mourn and share with other women who had been through what I had been through. And then last winter, I took the peer counselor training class through CPC so that I could be a counselor as well at CPC. I did not want to give up my receptionist gig because I love it so much and feel that it's such a privilege. So I volunteer 2 days a week, one day as a receptionist and the other day as a counselor. About the time that I started volunteering at CPC, I decided it was time to tell my sons my story about what I'd been through and about what their father and I had been through together. They were both getting ready to go off to college, and one was 18 and the other one 21. They were each at an age where I had been pregnant, and I felt they needed to know. I had an unwanted pregnancy, an unplanned pregnancy, and a planned pregnancy, but all three were loved and planned by God. Last January, CPC hosted an event called the Solemn Assembly. It was the 40th anniversary of Roe versus Wade, and it was in honor and memory of the 55 million that had been aborted, including my own. And at the end of the assembly, an infant casket was laid down at the front, and everybody there was given baby's breath, and they could walk by and lay the baby's breath on the infant casket in memory and in honor of the 55 million. My husband and sons were there, and I got to witness them laying baby's breath on that casket in memory of their sibling. And then I was able to do the same. And it was such a time of mourning and such a time of rejoicing for me, because I know there will be a day where I will be in heaven and meet my child with the Lord.